Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about topics on the way to work for general discussion and shower thoughts essentially. None of it really makes sense in the end, I don't know. Maybe it sounds interesting to some, maybe it's just white noise in the background while you do your dishes. That's what I do, podcast wise, documentary wise on YouTube actually. There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about sensitive topics. And I do swear a lot. So if you don't want to hear that first thing in the morning or whatever time, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep, I suggest turning it off and listening to something nice. Maybe some ambient study music, some lo-fi, I don't know. I've been getting heavily into the meditation chakra music lately. There's quite a few nice ones out there actually. It reminds me of when I used to do yoga. So topic for today is shadow self. Which is interesting because I like talking about that kind of stuff. So it is an esoteric discussion. If you don't want to go into that side of things and you sit there and think, you know, astrology and all that stuff is shit, you can absolutely turn it off now. I'm not going to push you into that. I can't do anything anyway. It's not really under my control. So shadow self. Shadow self is, from my understanding, because there's a lot of different... Oh, hello. Nearly got him. That was not my shadow self. That was him scooching through. I could have got him though. But the shadow self is something to do with, you know, dealing with your inner demons, your dark side of things. We've all got a dark side of things. No one is that pure and clean that we have no, you know, nothing like anger or depression or anything like that. Inner demons or bad shit that's happened to us. No one's that good. We've all got some shit going on where we have to address our shadow self, even if it's something as silly and as innocent as just being a people pleaser. That's got to have stemmed from something that comes from usually hurt and trauma, where we're perpetually trying to please other people in order to keep ourselves away from potentially being hurt again. That's one aspect of my own shadow self I have to deal with. The other aspect is berserker rage. You wouldn't think it to look at me. I must be doing something right. Yeah, but you know, I mean, if you grew up in a background that's violent and it's been normalized and the first response you've got to anything that doesn't go your way is generally beating the shit out of it, then or screaming wild abuse at it, you know, whether it's, you know, a 5-year-old child or something that can't understand the maths you've got on the table. I know there's a lot of men who have had that problem with their fathers, for example. My older sister Laura had that problem with my dad. She was bad at maths. I'm bad at maths, but I was smart enough not to go to him for it. He's like, I'll figure it out on my own. I saw what you did to her. But you know, these aspects or these experiences where, you know, you've gone to someone for help and of course they've been neglectful or abusive in the thing, and it creates a wound in the psyche. And that develops into, you know, an inner demon or a part of your shadow self, which you have to deal with later on. It also links into things like breaking into generational curses or cycles. In my family, there's quite a few curses and cycles that are centered on women in particular, which is possibly why I came out this reincarnation as a woman. Possible. We think about all of us have been given the chance to break those previous cycles because it's all about growth and healing and moving on to the next part so we can reach the next level of enlightenment and clean living and things like that. Soul cleanse. I know, looking at the history of the women in my family that I've had to, a lot of them were people pleasers. A lot of them dealt with a lot of shit just to keep the ship running, but the circumstances at the time were based on you know, the context of the scenarios where they just couldn't get out of it. There was social norms pressuring them. There was a lot of circumstantial shit where they got trapped into, you know, keeping a pretense running they weren't comfortable with. And they couldn't really get it together to stick up for themselves and say, this isn't good enough and I don't like it and I'm going to leave, or something like that. Whereas my position right now, the way I reincarnated in this life, at this point, I'm possibly at the optimum point to stand up for myself and say this isn't good enough and I'm leaving, because we've got things like female financial independence. My women in my line, a lot of them had to stay in shit circumstances because they didn't have the money to leave. I've got opportunities for, you know, controlling my reproductive system because we've got the contraceptive pill. I can stand up and say I'm not having kids and get bogged down that way with the person who I don't want or isn't good for me. We're more open things like mental health. A lot of the women in my family, my grandma in particular, my Irish Galway grandma, she used to drink to deal with the inner demons of being trapped in a marriage, even though she loved him. It was she was a gypsy. She wanted to travel. She couldn't, there was no way to get out, and she used to cope with that by drinking. I mean, creating her own booze. She was pretty good with that from what I hear. She used to bath chub a shitload of different types of wines and stuff, but bootleg it or nick it off the docks, because she used to work in the factories on the docks in London. But she used to deal with that, and the way she used to cope with not being able to get out and travel and change things, because I don't know what you know about gypsies, but there's a lot of, maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't know, but they get stuck and they get agitated in a little bit, and even I get a bit pissy when I'm just stuck and I can't move and I can't change, so I need to keep going. That's how I ended up going on so many trips in the past. It's like, I'm pissed off, what do you want to do? Fucking get out. It's like, get out and go see something, break the chain. So is a, I'm not one for being a runner in relationships or anything like that, but I am one for, I need to move around. Because if I get stuck, I'm going to get agitated and I won't like it. But she couldn't, so she turned to drink, and the way she copes was she also would randomly move furniture around the house. My mum did it too growing up. It used to piss me off because I'm not used to that kind of change. It's come home and like your bed's in a different position, or you're now in your sister's bedroom because your brother wants that bedroom, your brother's now in that room, and you're sitting there going, why did you move my bedroom? Because we had to. It's like, no, we didn't. It was fine the way it was. But she used to randomly move around furniture. I mean, there was little weird quirks and tweaks just to deal with a situation that she had no real control over, because firstly, the norms at the time were women stayed at home. You couldn't just bunk off whatever you wanted to. There was no money because she'd married for love and not money. She could have married for money if she wanted to. She came from a quite affluent Lowry family, which was related to the painter Lowry as well, so very big Irish family. She could have my mom's talked about pictures where she's had, like, all her brothers have got these fancy cars. She had about 8 brothers or something. But she chose to marry for love, and unfortunately the circumstances weren't financially viable, so she's no way to break any kind of stress. You ever seen like Peaky Blinders? Imagine those guys, but Irish. They all had their own setup, their own, they were gypsies, but they were well-off gypsies, if that makes sense. Very Catholic, very, very set in their ways, and very private. There was no talking. We don't talk out the family. But, and that's probably where my mum got it from, actually, when we were growing up, because we didn't talk outside the family, whether it's abusive or not. But, it's a lot of intergenerational curses and cycles I'm allowed to break now, because I'm just put in the right position at the right time, and I can just look at this and go, well, this isn't going to work, and we have the space to move out of these cycles. So that's, how people generally need to deal with their shadow work. A lot of it is maybe psychological issues as well. If you want to look at it from a science-based viewpoint, it's whatever holds you back. It's not just a case of, I've got schizophrenia or something like that. It's like, that's a genuine problem that you're going to need to, I would say, traditionally medicate or something like that. But at the same time, it's more to do with if you've got trauma, or you've picked up bad habits like sleeping around like that. That's usually to do with something like abandonment issues, or a low self-esteem, low self-worth perception. That's your demons. That's your inner shadow work you need to do. It's like, why am I willing to sit in these circumstances that are not good for me? And I know they're not good for me. Or maybe you're in denial that you know they're not good for you. Sorry, my stutter's kicking in. And you're just not willing to even face it because you've got a fear of missing out, or fear of change, or fear of abandonment, or or fear of speaking up for yourself in case it does change the scenario and you can't cope with what the outcome might be, or you assume that you wouldn't be able to cope with it. I'll tell you what, the human condition is really adaptable. It might suck, and yes, it's going to be hard work, but even any change is probably, you know, for the better. If it's a scenario where you're unhappy and you're depressed and it's just fight mode all the time and it's fucking up your mental health, it might suck up front, but you can always work with it and get better. It's like having, and I know I use this analogy a lot, it's like being shot. No, you know what it's like being stabbed with a knife. Ugh, horrible as it is. It's a question of being stabbed with a knife, and you always ask yourself, do I leave it in or pull it out? You know, if I pull it out, I'll bleed out, but if I leave it in, it'll fester and get worse, and you know, or it might be like stabbing into other organs and stuff. That's a very graphic metaphor. I shouldn't use that one, considering the amount of knife crime in the UK at the moment. Yeah, I'm not going with that one. Gunshot wound. Do I treat it? Do I heal it? Do I leave the bullet in, or will it fester? Or, you know, is it going to start smelling like almonds? You know, but that's the thing, is dealing with your shadow self to determine whether you should, or if you're just blatantly ignoring it on the off chance that it goes away. How is it affecting your current progress in your spiritual path? And you know, it's quite interesting. I don't mind looking at mine. I've already addressed mine. I'm looking at it continuously because I want to make sure that fucker doesn't make a comeback. Hence the reason I do the gym, so for my mental health, to deal with my PDS and my anger issues and stuff like that. I'm constantly tweaking. It's an ongoing journey. It's never one slap bam, you fixed it and that's going to be it, because you're constantly over this existence going to be facing triggers that you had to that will reach back into your old self as well, to see if you're healed yet properly, or if they can sort of get in there and instigate something again. So you gotta, it's a constant journey. It's never, you know, done and dusted. And there'll be new stuff that maybe pops up, for example, you know. In tarot terms, it's the devil card, your shadow self, which is things like sexuality, addiction, prisons of the mind. I do tarot. I was doing tarot this morning. Somebody got a tower. I'm like, I don't mind towers. I like towers. Towers is just change. Change is inevitable. Keep running with the water, you'll be fine. It's when you try and block up the water to make it stay that you have chop, because it's not meant to stay. You know, and that's a weird metaphor, but you know, I'll tell you what, the water is, well, I'll say the water, well, we can liken it to the ether, but the ether is stronger than you think. So stop trying to block it. It's coming through anyway. It will just build up like a dam, which is probably what I'm getting at. So much coffee this morning. But you know, the devil card, it's facing that inner demon that's holding you back, what your fears are, where these fears stem from. If you've been hurt that many times, maybe by your family members, you'll be facing, you know, that inner shadow work. Is, why am I allowing this to happen? Why am I upset by this? Could this be a projection of their own insecurities and why they did this, rather than me trying to take it personally? It's addressing things like victim mentality as well, where people will put themselves in the first person situation without understanding anything about compassion or context or the relevancy to other people's lives. Again, part of that me first mindset is kind of makes you ignorant of other people's issues and things, which creates a victim mentality. So if you put yourself in the center of the universe, everything does tend to, you know, why is everyone picking on me? Or I'm amazing. You know, it could go either way. It could be a case of everyone's picking on me, or it could be a case of I'm fucking amazing and fuck everyone else. You know, it's weird. So that's why we don't put ourselves at the center of the universe. It's a flawed logic. You can't make it work because it negates the existence of other people in your surround. It's stupid. Everything is a symbiotic relationship. Everybody interlinks with everyone else. Whether it's physically, spiritually, you can do astral planing, go talk to someone, go feel someone. In the fifth dimension, if you're any good at it, you can do some healing, you know, a little bit of Chiron energy in there. I like doing that, actually. I love sending people good energies. I do. I find the good ones, and I send them stuff, and I'm like, I like that side of things. Like, some people take it in a bitter way. They'll send their trajectories. Oh, they'll send their projections into the 5D, and it will be a case of, I'm going to fuck up your life. I'm sitting there going, I'm going to send you cake. It might fuck up your life if you eat too much of it, but hey, it's nice, man. Everyone likes nice shit. I think most of it, I mean, because I'm a light worker, I like the idea of, I don't know these people, but I can feel them, and I can feel that they're good people, and I like sending them nice stuff, just generally, you know. I don't know whether it's like the teacher in me, because I am a primary school teacher, but I want good people to succeed, and I want them to spread. If I can help them, I will. If they've actively shown me that they're bad people, I won't hurt them, but I won't feed the seagulls, if you know what I mean. And it's like, I'm not going to perpetuate this negative energy, this angry energy. And it's not about, you know, toxic positivity. It's a case of there's already an imbalance in the situation. I'm not going to give more to it. As you can feel, if anyone's got any sort of Hayoka empath energy abilities, you'll know that there's an imbalance right now when we're struggling for bringing light forward more, because everybody's so negative. Everyone's become so ingrained in the darker side of things, which you do need to address still. That's part of your shadow self. I would rather send more light energy and clean energy and healing energy into the 5D. Just because I'm sick of the imbalance. It's horrible. It's nasty stuff, man. It's non-conducive to life-giving. I don't understand why people do it in the first place. Bitterness, bad experiences, not being able to cope with it. It's horrible. I don't think it should be perpetuated, because what it does is it snowballs into a void. So let's just not. But part of that as well is you've got to deal with your own shadow self. So I've got to deal with my anger issues, for example. If you've listened to that podcast, you'll know that I've had a background in horrible experiences. The turning point, the pivotal aspect of that is to turn around and say, I'm not perpetuating it. As bad as it was that happened to me, I know that it wouldn't be constructive to perpetuate it. I wouldn't want to pass it on to anyone else. As much as I'm angry what some people did, and some parts of me are still angry about it, it would be no good to pass that on, to get revenge, to get all that extra shit. And just because it amplifies it. It's you ever watch The Fifth Element? Evil begets evil. It just makes it worse. So there's no point doing things like revenge or turning your negative energy into it. There is that Judeo-Christian side of things where you turn the other cheek, but I'd rather just take away my resources and not feed the seagulls. They do say you need to forgive. I'm still having trouble understanding how that works, because I do believe that if you've hurt someone, you should be accountable, regardless of whether you perceive to be wrong or right. Some people are living a particular lifestyle where they don't think they should have to take accountability for any kind of hurt that they've inflicted on someone, which is bullshit, because that energy still comes back around. You're going to face a hell of a lot of tribulation if you've really lived a fucked up life. You might not get it all at once, but it's coming. If you fucked over people like women your entire life, you'll find that you'll be abandoned, and that will develop a sense of bitterness. Or maybe even in a past life. That's the thing. It's like the shit you might have done in the past life will reflect on what you get in this life. Like, I've looked at a few people's birth charts. I was locked out this time. I'm like, I'm so glad I did the right thing last time. I must have done something right, because I'm just fucking winning at this point. But and I'm set up to achieve, so it's like fucking A. But I was looking at my ex-boyfriends and I'm sitting there going, he's not having a good time. And he's not going to this time. So something happened last lifetime, where he did something that was, not good. And he has to figure it out this time. And from what I'm seeing, he's not learning. So I'm going to leave him to it and back my shit up. But of course he didn't believe in all that shit. So I'm like, you know what? You can choose to, or you can choose not to. If you were given a blueprint for your existence for this lifetime, I suggest you fucking look at it, because it's the instructions. It's the cooking instructions, dude. Don't just throw away the packet in the bin and hope for the best. Look at the fucking instructions. And we all do it with food, but you shouldn't be doing it with your existence. So yeah, if you could, just go and look at your birth chart. The thing you're most likely to look at is your north node is what you're supposed to be doing in this lifetime. It's your purpose. If you've got a decent amount of Chiron in your chart, which I do, I got 5 yods, which means 5 divine purposes from God, or the divine, the goddess, which means that I've got 5 jobs to do in this existence. And I'm sitting there thinking, now if we decided on these contracts before we got into this plane of existence, what the fuck was I thinking? How did I sign up to this? I got 5 of them. It's like Princess Diana had 2. I went, I got 5. I'm doing it big. So that might have been ego. I don't know. I must have done something there. But you know, most people get 1 or 2. I got 5. I'm going, fuck it now. What did I sign on for? So it's been a bit up and down. That does explain the weird shit I've had up until about 37. So it's been up and down. It's all been life karmic lessons and breaking cycles and breaking a shitload of my family cycles, whilst also dealing with my own shadow self and the shit I've gone through. It's been a ride, man. It's been a trip. Next reincarnation, I might take it a bit easy. I'll just come back as a goldfish. It's like, fuck this. I need a holiday. But yeah, we gotta deal with our shadow self, man. You gotta look at what aspects are not feeding your soul, your life path, your spiritual journey. And you gotta look at how you can fix it. And we're all given jobs to do every incarnation, every cycle round. We're all given jobs to do. A lot of us are helpers. A lot of us are here for change. If you're a starseed as well, you're here definitely for change. I'm a crystal chart, so I'm just here to heal some shit, bro. It's like, I'm not here to agitate anything. I might agitate by proxy by pointing out a load of shit which doesn't fit, but you know, and people don't like that. They don't like that. Probably because I'm completely tactless, but you know, I'm sick of sugarcoating shit. But as a Hayoka, it's fun to watch as well, because people will take it so fucking seriously. I'm laughing my ass off. Because they're not seeing the greater picture, the bigger energy of the situation. They're seeing the very small aspects and the detail, and they're panicking. And maybe they'll get a tower card and they're reading and it'll be like, oh my god, it's the end of the world. And you're like, you have not been around long enough, dude. Chill, Winston. It's like, just hang on. If you're dealing in the here and now, let me just first of all give some advice, and you definitely need to look outside this box. Okay. I love doing card readings for people as well. I love to give them the good aspects of the card readings, but sometimes you need to hold their hand as they walk through the bad aspects of their readings, because it's a scary thing for them, you know. Particularly if they're what I consider a grey, the unwoken, the sleeping still and safe in the sleeping side of things. My ex-husband was a grey, but then he turned into a black, so I felt that one. I was a grey, actually more I was a rainbow, and then I turned into a white, if that makes sense. I was still colourful, he was still grey, but I turned to white, so something intensified. There's a lot of terminology there that you're sitting there going, crazy bitch. I suggest googling things like crystal children, if you're into that side of things. You don't have to, of course. Crystal children, star seeds, Hayoka, twin flames, soulmates, karmics if you're facing assholes. If you're surrounded by a lot of assholes and you can't put your finger on why you're surrounded by a lot of assholes, it's probably because you've got a lesson to learn. And usually it's about self-worth. My ex-boyfriend was a karmic for shiznit. I was being too giving. That was one of my karmic lessons for this time. It was a cycle I had to break in my family as well. That was part of my shadow work. I had to learn that I was giving too much to the wrong people. without first asking if they were qualified to hold that position. I was putting them on a pedestal, which is not a healthy thing, particularly if you're supposed to be helping a lot of people and you're focusing on this one person who wasn't deserving of your time or resources. So they're going to intervene with that. The divine will intervene with that shit. They'll be like, towers, tower. It's like, fuck this. We keep throwing towers at this bitch. She's not getting it. She keeps trying to see the good in him. Fucking towers. This bitch ain't getting it. Damn it. Death card. She's stuck in her devil energy. Death card. And that's how I got evicted. It's fun though. It's fun. I love the way they do things. I love the synchronicities, man. I am pissing myself with some of the things that the universe in particular kicks out. She has got an amazing sense of humor. It's quirky. Yeah, things like songs and signs you'll see on like YouTube popping up. You're like, but you got to be open and aware to it, and have an open mind that you're willing to see these signs. Most of them just go, oh, it's a coincidence. Like my ex-boyfriend was convinced that everything was just coincidence. If you're looking for signs, you'll find them. It's like, well, that's partly true, because we are looking for signs. We are an energetic antenna. I'm a very small one because I'm only 5'4", but you know, some of us are bigger. I got Invader Zim, oh tall one vibes there. Oh tall one. But you know, you gotta look for the signs and synchronicities. How else are they gonna talk to you to guide you? You got spirit guides, you got everything. I've got a shitload of my ancestors following me around, helping me break family cycles, familiar cycles. Sorry, my stutter's gone. I've got a bunch of celestial angels following me around, trying to keep me clean. It's less keeping me out of trouble and more keeping everyone else away at this point that are willing to cause trouble, I find, which is interesting. So they've got a really easy job at this point, because I'm not actively going looking for trouble. It's more like a shielding kind of thing. I've got the universal mum, and of course Daddy God, who's like looking after me. My Daddy God's got the logic. My mum's got the abundance, so we're working together with that to try and get our North Node up and running, which is why we're doing so well with things like getting a house. I've just been given a contract for 3 days work, which is the higher pay rate than I was when I was doing casual. It's getting the ball rolling. As long as you're willing to participate in their plans, they will help you. Hence the reason you really need to look at your North Node. That is your plan for this job. We've all got a part in this play. People who tend to be selfish tend to not want to look at what they're supposed to be doing. Can you get off my wing, mate? Because I have to turn left. No, that doesn't mean join up, you prick. Ugh. Old neighborhood. What time is it? Oh, we got time. But it's a case of, you got to get involved. You got to understand first what you're looking for. Ask for help. They're there to help. All you have to do is ask. People are afraid to ask. People are maybe too arrogant to ask. Maybe they think they know better. At the same time, you don't want to risk it. I mean, at least try and have a look. See what you can do. I'm being followed by a car for some reason. What do you want? I'm going to ditch this fucker, because I don't like you. Go away. Yeah, but you gotta humble yourself and just try and participate, man. It's a joiner sport. People don't understand how supported they are, particularly when they're facing their shadow work, because it's all a learning experience. Knowing what you're here for is probably the best thing, because people, like, the eternal question is, what is the purpose of life? It's like, have you actually checked your blueprint? So we all got different purposes of life. The four main purposes, of course, being that you need to look after the planet, animals, each other, and yourself. That's the main basic summary of the principles. But in that, there's a diversified sort of portfolio of different things you could be doing if you actually bothered to look. They're not going to give you very, very basic, boring stuff to do. There's more stuff to do, but you have to go look for it. And birth charts can be confusing as well, which is tricky, but you know, best to go and try and look. I like watching the TikToks at the moment because there's people sitting there explaining the astral alignments and shits, like the cradles and stuff like that, which is the alignment of the stars, which is causing, you know, all different kind of arrangements. And I'm trying to remember it. I'm shit with remembering content at this point because it's I can't root learn. I just don't have the memory for it, which is why I never really learned any languages properly. You have to learn aspects. I don't hold content very well, which is why you'll find me watching movies like a billion times, because it's just like all new to me. It's like, what happened in the movie? And you go back and you go, shit. That could be autism, that could be trauma. I have a shit memory. I know that much from PTS. But yeah, it's fun. Shadow work is definitely a necessary component of development, soul development, even just maturity development, because if you're looking at it from a psychological standpoint, you need to be able to address things like traumas and anger issues and depression and stuff like that, just to progress as a healthy human being psychologically. There's no point just sitting there and saying, oh, this is what I am and so fuck it, because it's not healthy, is it? Even if you look at it from a scientific, non-esoteric standpoint. I hope lots of people start looking at their shit. I mean, for one aspect, the esoteric side of things is just one way of looking at it. If you want to go the scientific route, if you're an atheist, for example, you want to go and look at this dumb... Yeah, anyway. It's healthier to look at... Oh, there we go. That's better. I'm going to park. It's healthy to look at the intellectual components which have created these scenarios where you are, I don't know, angry all the time, or you're willing to put up with people's shit. It's just perfect to address how you can progress with your life a bit better. That's essentially what shadow work is like. It's looking at the inner components, the demons you had, and then trying to either work with them or subdue them in order to progress further. A lot of people might be faced with anger demons, because at the moment I can feel this is a very agitated state. We're in a very agitated, energetic society right now. There's a lot of trauma and shaking up of things going on, and you can feel it in the ether. It's like, oh. So people are looking for that grounded way of doing things, so we need to bring all that shit down. And whilst we've got the fiery ones, the what are they called? There's crystal children, and there's oh god, it's a type of purple. I think it is a purple, not violet. Oh, I'll Google it again. I've forgotten the word. It's gone out of my head. It keeps going out of my head. But they're here to agitate, and they were the forerunners before the crystal children came, if you're going into the sort of that side of things. Crystal child are here to sort of settle once that we've created. Those ones have come to realign things for a healthier way of living for the human species, and by proxy, you know, sort of in a symbiotic relation kind of way for the animals and things around us as well. If we are healthier as a species and more holistic in the way we approach things, then it's going to be better for our surrounds as well, because we'll tend to look after them more. We'll be safer in how we interact with those things around us. Oh god, I cannot remember what they're called, and it's such a widespread term now. Oh my god, it's gonna bug me. It's like violet children or something. Oh, it's gonna bug me. The word's gone out of my head. But these ones have come to agitate some shit. They're looking at things and going, this isn't right. We're going to actually make a move on. And these are the ones that actually are the protesters, or the movers and shakers of getting shit done. They are fucking fearless. They stand up for what's right. They're turquoise children? No. There is a word for it. Turquoise are the more esoteric astral children. Oh, that's gonna bug me. Anyway, but they're actually getting the change done. They are the confrontational people. They are the Karens that say, hey. They are most likely to deal with their shadow self because they're not afraid of it. They'll actually use their shadow self to go and and sort some shit out. They tend to be the sort of dark light workers. They will look black, dark on the outside, but inside their drive and their ambition is all about getting things clean and sorting shit out. Whereas the crystal children are the more white, light workers, where we're just like, can we just plant some flowers and shit? I just want to bake some stuff and be nice, man. Do you want to go start a fight? No, I'll just sit here. I'll hand out orange slices or something, see how we go. I don't want to. I like things nice. It's like, that's why you guys are here. To agitate shit and create problems which generate, critical thinking and interaction, and people sitting there going, I don't like this. I mean, people like Malcolm X, for example, they were the first forerunners. And there's been progressive waves of these people. Oh, Christ, you know what? I need to Google what it is. It's like violet or indigo. It's indigo. The indigos. Yes. Google that. But the indigo children came here to sort of, is that a purple? To agitate, I think so. Blue, indigo, to agitate the situation and create change. I don't find myself confrontational. I've had a beginning of my life has all been conflict and confrontational. It's been chaos. So when it comes to my time to peak and to fruition into this, my energetic level time, I tend to want to smooth things over. So I'm like, okay, so this was hard and painful and everybody's hurt and now crying and everything's upset, but at least we've got the change we needed. Does anybody need a hug and a cookie? Okay. So that's why I'm here. So I'm letting them do their shit at the moment. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the softness afterwards. We can start leveling out some shit. But again, they're facing their shadow self. My shadow self is the people-pleasing side of things. Oh, there's a good example. You ever seen Good Omens? Good Omens, even though he's a half demon. Is it David Tennant? The dark one would be the indigo. In that scenario, that partnership scenario. And the light one would be the crystal child. The indigo goes in and says, this is fucked. If you ever followed the plot of that series, it's a Terry Pratchett series. He goes in and says, this is fucked. What can we do? We'll form an alliance and we'll go and fix this. Even though I have to supposedly back for a team which conflicts with your team. Seemingly, because he is a half demon or a demon or whatever. But he is pretty much mimicking an indigo input. They'll go through, they'll say, this is shit. How do we change it? Even though they aggressively go in and change it. And then the lighter colored one is the crystal child, which will go in and find the softer way of doing things. That's a good analogy, I think. You should go and watch that series. It's pretty good anyway. It's a really good series. So how do we approach our shadow work? First of all, you got to be brave. You. It's okay to look at the bad parts of you. Everybody's got bad parts of you. You're not alone. You're not alone. I mean, some people are afraid to look at their shit because in case it makes them look like a bad person, or in case no one will accept the parts of them. At some point, you're going to need to accept that you have these inner demons. We were all given inner demons at the beginning of it as sort of like a side quest for the ultimate quest. You've got to address these things and overcome them, and it's part of the challenge of this current incarnation. It's part of your yods, maybe. I don't know. You got to go look at your birth chart. But it's worth it, because at the same time, you're breaking cycles, you're breaking karmic loops, you're learning karmic lessons. And the next time you incarnate, it'll be easier and better, or you maybe get the upgrade and you'll go on to a bigger, better quest with more rewards and things like that. It's a big game, really. People take it so seriously and they personalize it, and that's where ego comes in. Because, people aren't willing to address their stuff because it's scary, or they might be seen as the bad person. And it's okay to be the bad person as long as you're dealing with it and finding a way to heal it. The neediness, maybe you're needy with someone, maybe you're emotionally codependent on someone. That's some shadow work some people need to have done, because it's looking at how they've developed connections with people where they are heavily reliant on them. Now, it could be something as innocent as I have abandonment wounds and I'm afraid of being alone. Or it could be something more sinister as maybe like a slavery mentality where you need this person around because they'll do your bidding for you. It's a horrible way to look at it, but it happens. Some people just like having people around so they'll earn them their money and they don't have to lift a finger. It's a tricky situation. You need to look at the components of the fight before you start, putting labels on it to try and fix it. I'm gonna have to leave it there because I am at work and it's now 8 o'clock and I've got to go into class. And I hope you have a fantastic Monday. Moon Day. Consider what illusions and secrets we're facing for the week or current position. And I will chat to you hopefully tomorrow because I've got another podcast time. All right, so I'll chat to you later.